This is Joanne Eisen with Reach the Unlimited, and we are here for another edition of Reach the Unlimited, which I'm so excited that you came to join us. And again, please add any of your comments or concerns in the chat box. We would love to connect with you and hear what you have to say. I am watching that, and today it came up right away. Yesterday it didn't come up right away, but anyway, it is up. So thank you for being here. This is our place to share and connect and hopefully explore new and different ideas and ways of thinking. And I would love to welcome Ana here today with me. She is a very helpful person for me. She's very knowledgeable when it comes to social medias and all things technology. Yesterday, I had to bend her ear on something. And she is here to share with us about the energies of social media and all about the technology, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So that's what we're going to be talking about. So thank you for being with us. Can you tell people a little bit about yourself, but
Sure.
What does reaching for your unlimited mean to you?
Yes, I'm very, very happy to be here with you again, Joanne. And yes, reaching for the unlimited is really going beyond our imagination, what we would have expected to be our limitations and our capacities and our abilities. That's reaching for the unlimited. And to me, it has to do with going within, to reaching with higher spirits and higher self. That's the only way to go beyond your limits, really. To understand that your knowledge and your awareness can only see so much and can only do so much. But when you go within, when you reach within, when you understand how much more there is for every one of us, then you can get to the unlimited, then you can get there.
I agree with you. And thank you for saying that. I was just talking to somebody this morning about that's where we find the real nuggets is by going deep within. And it's about, and in my world, I believe that it really helps us with staying in our right lane, staying in our lane and not going out of it, because we know everything that we need comes from within us. And then we're not looking outside of ourselves for happiness or joy or whatever it is. We do need each other, which is going to go right.
That's
Very
the funny thing. Yeah,
really
isn't it?
each other for, communication and learning and enrichments and all of that. So tell us some of the things about technology that you've learned, because you're really, you do a lot of stuff in technology.
Yeah, I love to tell my clients and everybody that I have a love-hate relationship with technology. And I know hate is a strong word and I don't usually use it, but it's just the way to explain it properly, right? Because I love the reach of what technology can give us, like this conversation, like this sharing with other people. But I also am very aware, too aware of all the risks and all the challenges and all the hazards of technology when we're not aware of what it entails, right? Because it's not just an object. Many people see it just like that, something we use. It's just a tool and that's it. But I have to disagree with that, because every one of the tools that we've had, even the most basic technology, like if you think of your kitchen, there there's this first level where you use stuff, right? There's stuff that's useful to you where you can cook, you can freeze, you can bake, you can do all these things, and you have these tools for it, right? So they provide a service, they do something for you, and you're using them. That's right. But then there's another step to that. Thanks to all those tools, you have the experience of cooking, right? You can enjoy that experience. You can do a lot of things and you can create this amazing cake because you're mixing something with one piece of technology and you're baking it with another piece of technology. And it all creates an experience. It actually creates a whole thing that goes with it. So you're not just using the tools anymore, right?
Right.
We've got another step deeper. But then you have another step where you actually create attachments to this technology. You have even a favorite like burner. You'll probably use one more than the other, right? You have a favorite pan. There's an attachment there. You actually enjoy using that more and you actually develop some sort of feeling and connection to that piece of tool. That technology, it's a tool really. But it created an experience. It went past being of service. It created an experience and it created an attachment, right? So that simple piece of technology that we have in our kitchen that is daily, that is just normal by now, it creates a whole experience and it creates a relationship with technology.
Mm-hmm.
Then if we move that to our cell phones, right? The first service that they provide is just communication and connection, and maybe some useful things like an alarm clock and maps so you can know where you are and things like that. So
Mm-hmm.
those are the parts of service. But then you create this experience, right? How is that experience of interacting with your cell phone? What does it entail? What does it bring to you?
Mm-hmm.
And from that, when you understand that thanks to that phone, you can talk to your family that you love, you're when you each time you actually pick up the phone or see a message, you get happy, right?
For sure.
There
Yeah.
are real endorphins being
That's
created by the little sound or the little color that you see,
right. Mm-hmm.
and you're actually getting happy about that, or
Mm-hmm.
sad or frustrated or
I
angry
was gonna
or
say it was not
whatever.
always just happy. It could be a
It's
lot of
not
other
just happy.
emotions
I
too.
wanted
I
to keep
get
it
your point.
positive, but yes.
I love that. Yes.
And on that note, actually, I've had my phone in silence for 7 years now.
Wow.
I don't have sound on my phone unless it's an emergency or I'm doing something that needs me to
Mm-hmm.
pay attention to it. But it's been 7 years of not having noises
Mm-hmm.
because every time I heard the bell or the ring or whatever, I got anxious.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that I actually had a physical reaction to the sound.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And we do get anxious and we do get all of that because there's an emotion connected to it.
Right.
It's no longer just a service. It's
Mm.
no longer just helping us stay communicated and find out more information or have an alarm clock or all of those things that are awesome and useful.
Mm-hmm.
But there's actually emotions connected to this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So
Right.
our relationship with technology starts there.
Mm-hmm.
And from that, there are also other things that have to do with our energy.
Mm-hmm.
Our energy, not just of the comments that we read, whether they're good or bad or positive or toxic,
Mm-hmm.
it's also the actual energy in the devices. They actually have to irradiate something to
Yeah.
communicate the sound and the downloads and the uploads and all these things.
Mm-hmm.
So there is radiation. There's actual energy going back and forth
Mm-hmm.
our devices, right? And that's something that has been very debated. Obviously, the tech companies have not made much
Yeah.
noise of that, right?
Mm-hmm. They don't
Uh,
want to.
just like tobacco companies didn't want to make noise when things were wrong,
Exactly.
right? So,
Exactly.
and I do remember Bill Maher a couple of years ago talked about that, how tech
Mm.
companies should start talking about the hazards.
Yeah.
And to be honest, tech companies have put the hazards in their like booklets and all these
Yeah.
things. They actually say
Tiny print.
the tiny little print, it says how
It
much
says.
radiation
Mm-hmm.
and why you shouldn't use it and why you shouldn't have it close to your body. And we all have it close to our bodies,
Do
right?
in our pockets. I know for me, sometimes I'll just like, you stick it in your shirt. I'm like, no,
Yeah,
no, 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 don't do that. Don't do that.
that's a huge no-no. That's
Yes,
a
that's a
huge
big
no-no.
no-no.
And I do recommend that you have a case at least to reduce a little bit of it. It
Mm,
will not hurt as much. It will not do a big deal because if you're getting calls, then you're getting radiation, really. If you
right.
get signal, you get it. That's what it is. As simple as having signal. And as we're stepping into this 5G world, because
Oh,
it's not even 4G, it's 5G, and that's the huge debate.
right.
Um, we need to be aware of these things.
Mhm.
We need to be aware of these things, especially when we're dealing with kids,
Yeah.
with a more vulnerable population, especially the older adults over 60, when your bone density is lower, right?
Mhm.
Because our bones are amazing. They're really keeping our systems safe from so many things. And it's not just structure, it's
Mhm.
actual shielding to our bodies.
Yeah.
And when you have younger kids or older adults,
Mhm.
with less bone density,
Mhm.
that's when it gets tricky, right?
And more kids now have phones, and younger and younger and younger and younger. My granddaughter, who's just 10 now, but
Yep.
she's been asking for a phone for 2 years. Like,
Yep.
this is something she's got to have
Yes.
when it's not even really that good for her. And the other thing is, you said bring awareness. I feel like we all know that the radiation is there because, like you said, I have mine right here.
Yep.
It's putting off those waves. That's the only way they can work. So I
Yes.
don't know that awareness is really the word. It's believing that these are devices that are messing with our
That's
system.
it, really. When I talk about awareness, it's not knowledge, uh,
Right.
right? Because knowledge is we know that
Yeah.
there are waves.
Yeah.
Awareness is to know that those waves can affect us
Yes.
and accept it, and don't question it as, oh, maybe it's not that bad because I'm over justifying it, because I'm justifying my behavior, and I'd
Right.
rather say that than actually do something about it.
Yeah.
It happens to all of us, and I've been there. I use it all the time.
Mhm.
I work with technology all the time. I
Right.
use Wi-Fi, and I shouldn't use it as much. I should do more wired stuff.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you want to have some freedom, it's really nice to be outdoors working in a garden and
Yeah.
not think about the radiation of the Wi-Fi. It
Right.
is nice, right?
Exactly. Yes.
But it's also nice to understand that you have to limit that exposure,
You do.
that you have to understand, especially again, for the most vulnerable population,
Mhm.
what that means. So,
Mhm.
in terms of energy, of the radiation that comes from our devices, the first thing is, um, that's the first damage that technology can do to us in terms of this mobile
Mhm.
generation, right? The radiation of it. And that's why it's been recommended that kids do not use it under at least 4 years of age, so
Mhm.
that you actually have some bone density. But
Mhm.
it's more than that. It's also because there are so many things, and especially when we're talking about kids. It's good that you mentioned it, because we are not aware of how much we develop during our early childhood.
Exactly.
We develop empathy, we develop
Mhm.
awareness, we develop the learning of how our body works.
Mhm.
And the funny thing is that if you look at kids these days, it's taking harder efforts and more time to
Mhm.
teach them to move stuff,
Mhm.
to
Mhm.
do like minor movements. It's the fine motion movements that they talk about. Um, because we know that now with just moving a thumb or a finger, you do stuff, right?
Exactly. Their
So
dexterity. Yeah, that's not
why
working
do I need to
completely.
cut? Why do I
Mhm.
need to throw? Why do I need to do all those things if all I need to do is move a finger?
Mhm.
That's it. So, what we want to do is allow children in the earliest stages to
Mhm.
be as far away from technology as possible. And I
Mhm.
know a lot of parents have told me when I bring this up, they're
Yeah.
like, but they're not going to know how to use technology. Trust me, they will.
Yeah, they will.
It's
But
super
yet
easy.
it's convenient for the parent. I know all
Yes.
I'm not doing a judgment on that because we've
No, no,
all
no.
been there. And even as a grandma, it's
Yes.
convenient. And you think, oh, you just want them to have fun and
And there's something else going on with that thing. I bring it up. I have a book called Caught in Between. I'm gonna show it in a little bit.
Mhm.
And that book talks actually about this. Why is it that my generation, the 30s, 40 somethings, have such an easy time giving devices to kids? And the thing is, we were brought up with technology. We're
Yeah.
the first generation that
Yes.
have
Mhm.
been immersed fully in technology from cradle to grave. We're
Mhm.
the first ones. We have never questioned the value of technology. We have never questioned whether we should play a video game or not. Our
Right.
parents may have. We
Mhm.
didn't. We're like, oh, it's not that bad. You
Yeah.
know, we
Yeah.
grew up with the nanny as the TV as the nanny. We
Right.
did,
It's
right?
familiar, definitely. Mhm.
So to us, it's very normal to use the devices for our kids. It just seems simple and the next generation and pass the baton. But technology is not the same as it was when we were growing up.
Exactly.
That's the big thing. And that's what we need to be, again, aware. We
Mhm.
may know it, but we're not aware of it.
Mhm.
We don't know, like when we used to play Atari and Nintendo, which were the first ones, and I did play
Oh,
those and
yeah.
I'm proud of it. Um, when we
Oh
played
my gosh.
that, we
Mhm.
didn't think that we would play someday with millions of people if
Oh,
we
yeah.
were just connected to PlayStation,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
And now when we pass along that little controller to our kids, they
Mhm.
could actually be playing with someone on the other side of the world who would be telling them nasty things about things that they don't know anything about,
Right.
right? There's no filter there.
Mhm.
That's the big thing about these devices. When we put one of these little things in their hands, they are instantly connected with the whole world. And that's not just your neighbors, not just your contacts, it's the whole world. And it
Without the
sounds
tools.
huge, right?
without the tools that they need to know better. Because
Yes.
even we
Yes.
as adults get
We
scammed on
struggle.
Facebook. I mean, think of Facebook when you get like a response from somebody
Yes.
you don't really know, and you just like go through it. I mean, usually we have enough awareness
Yeah.
to know this is fishy, but sometimes they've gotten so good that you don't
Yes.
realize that you're going into it. So think about a
Yes.
little kid who doesn't have the wisdom to be able
Yes.
to see the trigger words or feelings or, all of those things.
And there's a couple of things that go into that because it has to do with emotional intelligence, first
Mhm.
and foremost, because you can get comments that can be
Right.
hurtful and just bad for you.
Mhm.
And it also has to do with the fake facts, right? These famous fake facts everywhere.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yes, all this misinformation and all these things leading you to a clickbait. And we've had a lot of instances here in Mexico with people who a lot of girls who have been kidnapped and raped. And the first point of contact was Facebook.
Mhm.
And you'd think someone would have said, hey, Facebook, we need some help. Something's not working. There
Mhm.
may be something off. Can we work in team to just make things better? But instead of doing that, everybody just says, oh, it's someone else's fault. It's the parents. It's whoever was taking care of them. It's the schools that are not teaching them. It's not that. It is a joint effort because we're meeting challenges
Mhm.
that were never a challenge before.
Right.
They're too new and things move too fast. So we need to take a real understanding that the problems that have to do with technology are not just emotional intelligence, are not just education. It's not just knowing how to treat people and how to keep
Right.
yourself safe. It's a teamwork.
Mhm.
It's really all of us as a community protecting each other and protecting our youngest
Right.
in
And I
those
think
instances.
it's talking to your children about it too. It's because I know for me, when I was raising my kids, we did clearly I'm the beginning of that your generation.
Yes.
That there, we didn't talk about stuff like that as
Mhm,
freely. It
mhm.
wasn't as prevalent. Like my kids could go outside and play,
Yes.
and we didn't have to worry about whether they were going to be there in an hour. But
Yes.
in today's world, we have to put away all of the shyness, the defensiveness, the
Mhm.
uncomfortableness, and because really you're the defense, the parent between the Facebook world, because time and time again, you hear of people that
Yes.
kids that have been interacting with people on Facebook and they think it's their age person, and they go off to meet them somewhere to find out
Yes.
it's a 50-year-old man who lived in,
Yep.
Timbuktu. But it's us being um,
It's
brave
the
enough.
first line. It's the first line of
It is
defense
the
for
first
sure. The
line,
first caretakers, whether
right?
it's grandma, grandpa, uh,
Hmm.
aunts, cousins, whoever it is, that's the first line of defense. That's really it.
But
Um,
you were telling me about um, your interaction with, and I don't know if that'll get us shut down or not, but your
oh
interaction
yeah,
with
let's.
Facebook and
Yes,
your experience with that.
I was just gonna bring that up. I've done a couple of experiments with Facebook
Hmm.
because I've had a lot of trouble with them and privacy with my clients and myself. And the first thing was when they came up with Messenger Kids.
Hmm.
um, I created a fake account. I don't have kids. So I created a fake account and I still have it. I haven't been shut down. My friends should have been notified that I was creating a Facebook Kids account that would be able to interact with their kids.
Hmm.
None of them were. None of them have reached out to me to say, hey, I noticed that you have an account. What's that about? No one has. Facebook has not said you don't have a kid because we know everything about you. So why should
Hmm.
you have one?
Hmm.
I made it up under the name of one of the TV characters of Mad Men. So so it would stand out like this is fake, right? And I have not been approached about it. So that's one of my first things. The
Hmm.
other was a good friend of mine. Her mom made a comment on something political a couple of years ago,
Hmm.
and someone used her photo and the photo of another family friend
Hmm.
and put it up as a fake profile and used her comment. And she got bullied and attacked, and she even got death threats.
Wow.
And no one could step in because there was no way to interact with that because the authorities didn't know how to handle it. Facebook didn't have an option to report that. And they claimed that it was nothing that they could do about it. So there's no way you can actually take a real action, a real protective action against people who are getting creative about how to cause trouble, right? And I've reported a whole bunch of behaviors to Facebook. There's been some pages that are just not good. They're sharing photos of teenage kids or things like that I know are violating terms. So I've reported them a whole bunch of times. But if you don't find the right category to do the report, Facebook just doesn't know what to do about it.
And they don't make it easy to find it.
No, there's no customer service. So if you're in a crisis, there's no 911 on Facebook that you can reach out to. The best human interaction that you could have is actually just if you're running ads and you'll get an email.
Exactly.
Right? So that's like the extent of their customer approach. And I did talk to someone from Facebook a couple of years ago because I had the chance to run into them in a conference. And I told them, I'm like, hey, I'm really worried about the new generation. I know of a lot of kids under 13 that are going onto Facebook and there's nothing there. I mean, you don't even send them a welcome email of these are the policies and this is their best practice that you could have. I mean, you're talking to teenagers. This is their first introduction to the world. And you don't even have some quick videos that they can go through. And they're like, well, no, because you can learn how to use Facebook on your own. I'm like, no, you can't.
You don't want a kid learning to do it on their phone.
No. And I know they can pick up like what button to click to upload something.
Exactly.
I mean, that's the easy part.
That's right.
What we want them to learn is how to interact safely. What information should I share? What should I not share? Right? And it's hard to tell parents to teach them when you've never used Facebook. When there are these new platforms like TikTok that why should I use it? I'm 30 something, 40 something, and that's not my thing, right? But now I have to use it so I know what I can expect and what kind of filters and what kind of security and what kind of terms and conditions it could have for my kid to use it.
Right.
And maybe you don't have the time because you're working full time. And that's why your kid is so immersed in technology, because there has to be something else. Like you mentioned, there's a generation that still played outdoors. I still played outdoors. I still went to my neighbor's house and I still had to go ask for my ball, and simple things like just calling on the phone and asking, who is this? Right. The manners and the interaction that you developed and the safety you developed by asking, who is this?
Right.
It's those very simple things that we usually don't think about, but that actually shaped us. They actually shape how we behave. And that's actually one of the things that happens with technology nowadays. When we're talking about this relationship, why we have anxiety and so much attention deficit disorders.
Yes.
It is because of technology.
Right.
And it's not to demonize technology. It's just to be aware of it.
Right. And I love that you said that. I want to really pause on that because this isn't a conversation about Facebook is bad, technology is bad, because like
it's good.
We could talk to people all over the world with it. We do live shows like this where we're educating people, but it's being aware, because like when you were talking about how we get anxiety on our phone, right? The dinging, the messages, it's because we're being trained that we have to react to something away, right?
Yes.
And the same thing is true with, I think because we're so inept in it, right? We use it so often, so much that we become, where you're going to talk about it, addicted. That's not where I wanted to go, but it does bring a lot of depression and anxiety because we're judging ourselves from the other person. And
it is an addiction.
There's a phrase for that people that do a lot of, like, even on YouTube, they're doing a segment where they look like they're rich and they have these cars and they're doing, what's that called when they're doing that? When it's fake.
It's the
term for it.
It's not ghosting. It's everything has a term now. And that's
I know it does. But
I can't think of it.
I mean, I can look like I have this great life. I'm living just high.
You can fake it. You can fake it.
Yes. So you
Yes.
don't really know the truth of what somebody's going through. You know that by conversing with them.
Exactly. And that's part of what's going on. There's a lot of anxiety and social disorders.
Mhm.
First off, yes, because all these things and notifications, and it's been said, the developers actually have said it on record. There's a couple of interviews from them where they are developing these things like Vegas machines, right? They want to keep you hooked on it. They want to
Right.
keep you engaged and interacting and want to be posting and commenting all day. And they reward that.
Mm-hmm.
They will reward that. They will give you more followers and more exposure and all these things. But let's not play that game.
Yeah.
That's not what we as users want to do with it. And we actually have power there. There's a way for us to make things slow down. And the way to make things slow down is not to play the algorithm, but to use the technology
Mhm.
wisely, with intention, with purpose, and to remember that it's social engagement.
I want to go back to what you said about control because
Yes.
that's an addictive behavior that
Yes.
what I've noticed, and one of the things that triggered with me is I realized I wasn't making choices anymore. I was given choices. And there's a big difference to,
Very big.
like, I've noticed even lately on YouTube, I have what I want to watch. And right after something I want to watch, they put something in there that they want me to watch. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not. Okay, so we won't go down that road. But the point is, you have to be aware of your power. And when
Yes.
you're making the choices or when somebody's making them for you, which in
Yes.
turn is taking your choice away from you. And we
Exactly.
become then mesmerized and almost like a sheep just
Yes.
following the leader. And we're not really, we're not in control of our life then.
And that's exactly where we need to step in, right?
Hmm.
That's where we need to make the choices and the
Right,
changes.
right.
And that's what we need to teach our kids and younger generations.
Hmm.
How much of it is your choice and how much is being put on you, right? It's not by your choice. And we have to say again, this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because maybe I would never Google you, but I could run into you because I've looked at content that resembles Reach
Hmm.
the Unlimited, right? So I will get suggested that. And that's a good thing because you can get
Yes,
exposure to things you would have never found,
right.
which is awesome.
Yes,
But when we go back to the control part, and this is something that's also again positive and negative.
right.
Like I said, this generation, the 30s, 40 somethings, the
Mhm.
millennials, and in the edge,
Yes.
um, we really have learned that everything is controlled. Like we have control over everything
Mhm.
because we're the first generation to use the remote control for everything. We didn't have to step up and change the channel. It's all here. And we got it at an
Oh,
early age. And
yeah.
that actually shapes our brain to show you you can control your environment.
Mhm.
That's actually what it teaches you.
Mhm.
And then we started skipping and then we started recording the show because we didn't want to watch it live. And that's good and awesome again because
Right,
it
right.
opens up so many opportunities. But again, it doesn't allow us to learn all these other basic things that we used to learn before, like waiting and patience.
Mhm.
And that's why we give the kid the thing,
Right.
because we would love to take the batteries off or turn him off
Yeah,
or put
yeah,
mute.
right.
That is actually our reasoning behind it. We
Mm.
want to control the kid.
Yes,
We really do.
yes.
And it's not a bad thing. It's just that we're used to controlling everything else around us.
Mhm. Mhm.
So why would we not control our spouse or our
Mhm.
mom or our kid? It's a very simple reasoning. It's a very
Mhm.
complex behavior,
Mhm.
but it's a simple reasoning. We have control. So when we go to the other hand, when the algorithm has control,
Yes.
we're also very unaware of that
Mhm.
because we're just going through the motions. We're just using it, right? We
Right,
just hit play.
right.
But when you get those suggestions and those, do you want to watch this? It's up to you.
Yes, yes, yes.
And it's up to you also in an algorithm growing kind of way. Because if you say no, the algorithm learns, oh, okay, that's not for you. That's not what you want. But
Exactly.
beyond that, there's the other thing that has been a trouble in political elections, not just in the United States, but worldwide. of what happens when the algorithm knows you so well that you don't see the other side.
Yes, that's the problem.
And that's where
Mhm,
we have to go into the human motion of,
mhm,
okay, let me look at what someone else is thinking.
mhm,
Let me go beyond what my friends are liking.
mhm.
Let me see what else is out there and actually look it up. You actually have to break the algorithm by looking up something you
Yeah.
wouldn't.
Yes. Right.
You have to go, that's your actual personal power and choice.
And I feel like that's really important. And that's a part of having keeping our own power. Because, like you were saying, I totally agree. And I've been talking about it for the past couple of days, is we always have choice.
Yes.
And we also have the choice whether we're going to use it or not.
Yes.
But the point is, when you go out and search for things, then you are now thinking, because we need to have other input. Because if we're only doing the same thing, watching the same people, staying in the same cycle, in the same group, we're not going to do anything different. And then we're not going to really know who we really are or what we're really capable of doing, because we're doing that
Falling into
thing.
this algorithm selection. Yes, that's actually what happens.
Yeah.
And it takes us going beyond our comfort zone
Right.
and
Exactly.
actually making a point. This even goes to the simplest things. Like, you know that when you're watching your timeline on Facebook,
Mm-hmm.
there's these people that will pop up all the time because you're used to commenting or just sending messages or whatever. But there's this one friend that you haven't heard from in like 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we just look it up in the search
Right.
portion, right? Just
Right.
go there and look for them. They're there.
Right.
And you need to break the algorithm. You
Right.
need to tell it, hey, this is nice. Thank you very much. But I want to see more.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in more people. I'm interested in more content. I'm interested in more views, points of view that are not my
Right.
own.
Right.
I want to learn what else is being said about this topic. And again, this is discernment. This is something that we develop when we go to a school that actually cares for our thinking and
Mm-hmm.
analytical process,
Mm-hmm.
or where we have parents who actually care about that
Mm-hmm.
and they teach us to ask and inquire and
Mm-hmm.
question and go for different points of view
Mm-hmm.
and join conversations, which is one of the things I have to say, the one thing that shaped me and that allows me to do all this work of working with technology with people who don't love technology
Mm-hmm.
is actually that the fact that when I was at dinner, there were several generations at the table and I was not told to leave.
Hmm.
I was actually told
Yeah.
to stay and join the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to listen to different points of view and
Yeah.
approaches and life experiences
Mm-hmm.
allows you to get the feel for, oh, so this is what it's like. So when I read this on the internet, I'm like, oh no, no, no. I know better. I've heard about that. And no, that's not how it goes.
Yes.
Because you have another source of information. Again, family,
Mm-hmm.
friends, close friends are a really good line of defense for this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you go to that social interaction, if they are the source of your information, you have more ability to discern and to find different points of view.
Well, you're also bringing up another really good point with that, because one of the good and the bad of technology is we could talk to anybody anywhere. We
Anywhere.
can do anything anywhere,
Yeah.
but we don't have human connection, and we still need that. And we
Yes.
still need our close friends nearby that we could go have
Yes.
coffee with in a place, in an establishment. We still need our family that can keep us grounded.
Yes.
That's really important.
It's crucial. And even though it's really good, and I can tell you that the interaction and the human connection of just looking at you
Mhm,
directly and making
mhm,
eye contact through the camera here,
mhm.
it's a huge difference as if I was just looking there and talking about this, and it might be super interesting. It
Exactly.
creates this connection. And it's
Mhm.
super basic and it's not even touching. It's just seeing at each other at the eyes, right? Seeing your eyes, seeing your expression,
Right.
but because there was a previous experience when I was young, when I was a baby, that taught me that looking at the eyes, I could connect with another human being.
Mhm.
If I'm 6 months old and I'm watching everything happen through this device, I'm not going to learn that.
No, you're not. You're right.
I'm not going to learn that if I poke my little kid or my little sister, she's going to get mad and how I'm going to deal with that, right? But
Right.
if I'm poking this one, it's not going to get mad. It's going to
Right.
have another reaction, but it's not going to come and hurt me.
Right.
So we need to allow for that development
Mhm.
first. We
Yes.
need to give them the chance to experience all those things first. So
Mhm.
then when we get them into a platform, that's why the age requirement is 13 for most platforms,
Right.
right? It's like the
I didn't know
PG
that. Yeah.
13
Yeah.
for certain movies and content,
Mhm.
because we assume that at 13 our kids have experienced enough of the
Right.
real world to be able to tell the difference. And that's really what it is for the movies.
Mhm.
It's PG-13 because at 13 you know the difference between fantasy and reality,
Right.
right? So you know that if the person is getting killed in the screen, you're not going to go kill someone, or at least we assume that,
Yes.
right? We hope that
Exactly.
that's the case.
That's the case. Right.
But that's the thing. That's why we put those ages, because we expect that by that time you have experienced what it's like to talk to another human being,
Mhm.
to be taught about emotions, to be
Mhm.
taught how to handle conflict,
Mhm.
to be taught how to communicate properly, right? Because you know how to talk to another human being in
Mhm.
every setting, because you've had a chance to have friends, to have family, to have people you don't know and
Mhm.
interact with them. And what I usually tell people when they're like, oh, so what's the best age for my kid to have a device? I'm like, well, first off, can they afford it?
Yeah.
If they can't,
That's
they're
easy.
going to get the hand me downs,
Right.
like we all did with the cars, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you wouldn't get your first car because it was the hand me down that someone else gave you, because that's what it was. So the same thing goes for the cell phone. You don't give them the highest,
Mm.
newest, most valuable, because first off, it's not fair to them. How expensive are those things?
Yeah. Now you're paying $1,000 for a
So
phone.
what happens when they break it? Because they will break it because they're
Exactly.
kids,
Or lose it.
or lose it. And in some situations and in some settings, like
Uh-huh.
bigger cities, if they get mocked for it,
Right.
right? You're
Exactly.
giving them something that's very valuable to carry around. So there's all these elements going around it, that it's not just like, oh no, don't give them the phone. It's not about not giving them the phone. It's about putting all that trust and responsibility in their hands when they're not even 10,
Yeah. Exactly.
right? So why
And
do
you're
you,
giving them a lot of freedom that they really don't. They're again,
again,
going back to the beginning. They're not
yes,
able to comprehend the importance of that.
the question really is, would you put your kid in the middle of the street right now and let them go anywhere they want?
Yeah,
If
exactly.
you would let them do that, okay,
Exactly.
then give them the phone. Fine. They're mature enough apparently. But if you'd be scared of them going anywhere, then don't give them the phone,
But
because they're going to go everywhere.
exactly. People don't think of that though,
No.
because really we feel like it's safe. We feel like it's
Because again, we feel like the phone is
justified.
our phone, right?
Right.
The phone
Right.
that you picked up and it was just grandma and
Right.
grandpa and blah blah
Yeah.
blah,
Hmm.
right? But it's not.
Yeah, it's
And
not.
that's the awareness of the reach of our technology that
Hmm.
we need to have. And
Hmm.
it's wonderful because it also opens a lot of possibilities when you're
Yes.
thinking about work and education and all these things. Like the best universities in the world have free programs online.
Hmm.
You can go to college for free. Do
Yeah.
people know this?
No.
No, right?
Because they're too busy doing the other stuff
Too
online
busy with the
instead of
other
the
stuff.
educational stuff they can be doing.
Yeah, so
Sure.
there is an upside to it, and that
Right.
reach is amazing. Again, you could learn Japanese from a Japanese person,
Hmm.
right? You could do that. There's all these opportunities and there's all this information that is wonderful. And the connection that we can have, again, as much as it can like take empathy away because we don't have human contact,
Hmm.
it can also bring empathy because you may have a friend from the other side of the world that you wouldn't have now when
Yeah.
you're here sitting in your living room, and you
Hmm.
can know what they're going through and you're like, oh my gosh, you're going through something just like me and you're on the other side of the world and you talk a different language. That is so awesome. And we can watch a movie or a series or whatever that
Hmm.
explains to us the history of India in the 1500s. And we're like,
Hmm.
wow, I never learned that in school,
Hmm.
right? So it
Mhm.
can create a different level of empathy and connection.
Mhm.
But human touch is definitely
Yes.
not something to be disregarded. It's not something to be left aside because we do need it. We need to remember that when we poke ourselves, it
Mhm.
actually hurts,
Exactly.
right? And it feels good when we do this too. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. And that's a good point because really it's about balance.
yes,
There's a lot of people that I know struggle with the fact that they are alone and they spend most of their
yes,
time on the internet. I tend to be one of those kinds of
yeah,
people right now in this time of my life. And I have amazing friends all over the world that, I keep up with what they're doing, but you don't have that touch, that hug, that
yes.
connection, that feeling.
And
And
it's
we
even
need both.
yes, it can be like you mentioned, it could be a lack of mobility. A lot of people
Mhm.
have a problem with
Yeah, that's
mobility.
a big one.
So technology is amazing. It
Mhm.
can be just a life situation. You're living abroad, your family is
Right,
in another place. It just
right.
happens. And I have to say something. I've noticed that there's a lot of different options that can be very helpful for this, which is, for example, treat yourself to a massage
Yes,
every now and then.
absolutely.
It's human contact, not the machine massage again. You could do that. That's not the way to go. We want human contact.
Yes, we
Uh,
did.
so treat yourself to a massage or Reiki healing or things
Right.
like that, where you actually get touch.
Yes.
Again, family time whenever possible. Take a trip if you can't be with them all the time. Take a
Right.
trip, make the time. Take a vacation, a couple days off to be
Mhm,
with people. To make it a point to be with people.
mhm,
Those class reunions or friends reunions that you
mhm,
can put it together. Do that. Take the
mhm,
time and see your friends in person and touch them and hug them and tease them.
mhm.
Um, and the other thing is not just that, but make it a point to go places.
Ex
I
Yeah.
noticed how much I was buying online, like Amazon and all these things, and I was like
Yeah.
so happy because I didn't have to go out. And then one of the days when I received it, I'm like, I'm happy I don't have to go out. That's wrong.
Yeah, it
I
is.
shouldn't be so happy that I don't have to go out, right? So at least make it a point to go get a coffee every now and then.
Right.
Something simple, something that's not extraordinary. But and when you have the chance, when you go get your groceries or something like that, talk to people
Yeah.
beyond the simple yes, my name is whatever and
Mm.
I will be your server.
Yes.
Go a little bit deeper and actually ask about the weather, about the traffic,
Yeah.
about whatever you want to
Make eye
not lose
contact.
it. Yes, make eye
Eye
contact.
contact with
That's
people.
huge,
Mhm.
huge, huge.
Because there's studies that prove that when we're alone and we don't have physical interaction with other
Yes,
people, that our bodies can really shut down. That's something that's
yes,
part of what we need just to survive.
yes,
And even though you and I were talking earlier, because I've been noticing how I'm very empathic and I can feel the energy
yes,
from people. I'm a big one because we've done table tipping with,
yes,
the internet. We've done mediumship you can do with it.
yes.
I mean, you're dealing with energy here,
Yeah,
but it's not the same as being in the
in
midst
person
of people, like going into a party or going to a
for
restaurant.
sure.
You need that stimulation.
And it's even like in your senses. Again, going back
Your
to
senses.
how we
Exactly.
develop our sensorial education in our younger years, we're
Right.
used to that. We need to
Yeah.
smell people because otherwise, when you get into that scenario again, you're going to be very exposed.
Yes. Mhm.
And I've seen it myself. I live in a busy, crazy city. And
Mhm.
when I stop going into the people places,
Yeah.
once I go to a crowd, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is overwhelming.
Yeah.
Yes, because your senses again are losing that
Yeah.
exposure.
And then people say, well, I'm just an empath and I can't handle it. But you need to handle it
You
because
need to
that's your
handle it.
sensory stimulation that you need to have. The other thing about it, though, is Amazon's great. We all love Amazon, kind of, sort of, in a love hate
Yeah. Love
relationship.
hate. See again the love hate. I told you.
But what happens when the drivers can't drive, the planes can't fly, the
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
happens,
Yes.
we have now no mom and pop stores around us,
Yes.
which also means then we don't have the variety because really what you're
Yes.
getting on like cookie cutters, big stores like Amazon, Walmart, whatever, whoever's going to deliver, is they can't stock the whole world.
Yes.
So they're stocking the things that are mostly in demand.
There's also an area of opportunity right there, because you have a chance to support smaller producers,
Yes.
smaller commerces. So again, it's your choice to reach out, and whether it's the physical stores around you in your neighborhood within walking distance that you can support and keep open, or smaller online opportunities. There's a lot of online commerce for new coming products and services, and you can reach out to that. And the first and easiest way to do that is just to check out around with your friends.
Yeah.
Are your friends developing small business and having their own business online? Reach out to that and consume their products. You don't have to go too much far away. It could be just within your social circle. You can just go there and try to figure out how to connect with them. And the other thing I was going to say, yeah, the energy that, I mean, I've done meditations, I've done sessions, I've done a lot of great things where you can feel the energy and the connection.
Yeah.
So think about that for a second. The fact that you can actually do a meditation through a platform, through a flat screen, a super thin flat screen, and you can actually feel the energy of the other person when it's positive and constructive and empowering. But what happens when it's not?
Yes.
You can actually feel the hatred on social media.
You can.
It actually goes to your body. It actually affects your health and your psyche and your soul. Which is not to tell you, oh, just step away from social media. Again, it's not disconnection. It's just the filtering. And how are you going to handle it? Because you might feel completely overwhelmed and exhausted after 2 hours of checking Facebook. It could happen. So what are you going to do? Yeah, what are you going to do with that? Like, how are you going to heal that?
Right. So what are some suggestions that you would give to people?
The first is to be aware of how much time you're spending on your devices. So really, if you have a chance, just make an exercise, just one day, write down whenever you start using technology. And when I mean technology, I mean the TV or any Netflix or any of that.
Gaming.
And gaming and your device, your personal device, whatever it is. If it's a tablet, if it's a cell phone, whatever it is, just make a note of how many times, like how much time you're investing in that. That way you know how much time you're using technology. Second, try to make time for non-technology times, right? So the simplest is when you're eating, when you're having breakfast, lunch, dinner.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes.
Make sure this little thing is facing downwards so that you don't see the alerts. Or not even the table. If you can have it in another room, that's even better and happier and whatnot. But if not, just turn it around, because you might be at a restaurant. Just turn it around. Don't look at it. And that's going to be a very interesting experience to you. Don't go back to reach out for it after 5 minutes. Really let it go.
The other thing about that, though, is that your body is going to assimilate more of the food that you eat because you're paying attention to what you're doing. You're not going to eat as much because you pay attention to what you're doing. You're going to think about choices. So because you're paying attention to what you're doing. So these devices actually are harming us when all we're doing is watching that and not being in the now, in the present.
We're not being in the moment. We're definitely not being in the here and now because we're elsewhere, right? And that also, my second rule is the person in front of you is more important than whatever's going on in the device, right?
Gosh, yeah.
So this person in front of me that I'm talking to, whether it's the person serving at the store or my friend right next to me at the coffee shop, they're the most important person right there and then. After that comes whoever's coming on the device, right? Because many times we are with someone, but we're really paying attention to something else. So we're not with them, right? So we really need to make a case that we're with the person. And if we're not, if it's an emergency, if it's something that we have to pay attention to at the time, be mindful and tell them, hey, give me 2 minutes, just let me solve this and I'll get back to you.
Mhm.
Because if you can't concentrate, if it's really something so crucial, then be there for the other person and come back.
Right. Give
It's
your attention
it's
to one or the
okay,
other. Mhm.
but it creates a pattern of behavior, of mindfulness, of respect to the person that you're talking to at the time, right? So that's another thing. And another, the third one that I'm very, very passionate about is read. And when I say read, I mean not on your tablet, an actual physical book or magazine or whatever you want, but
Mhm.
read it. And what does this do? Devices are bombing us with notifications and information and all these things. So we have a problem with concentration,
Mhm.
a
'Cause they're
huge
little
problem.
they're little
Yes, our
things that go
attention
one to
spans
the
are
other. Yeah.
super small. And that's especially true for, again, the younger generation and the older generations,
Mhm.
because it's just a fact. You can't pay attention to so many things at the same time.
Mhm.
And it's not even healthy if you can, right? You really want to be present, even if you're
Right.
super smart and capable of everything.
Yeah, I don't think
Um,
anybody's that smart and capable, though.
but let's assume people think they might be.
Maybe
Um,
they are.
so if you're reading, what that does to you is, first off, you have to be in the moment. You can't read ahead. You can read just as fast as your eyes are watching it, unless you have
Mhm.
an amazing memory, and that can happen too. Um, but you're paying attention at the here and now. Second, your mind is busy because it's going with the letters, creating a concept, creating an idea, creating an imagination, a
Mhm.
scenario. So you're exercising that too.
Mhm.
And that is something that we're losing because everything is visual and we're overstimulated, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yes.
you're reading, you're giving yourself a chance to be present,
Mhm.
to not have any radiation around you if you're
Mhm.
using paper, and to actually exercise your mind and train it to pay attention to one thing at a time
For a longer period of time.
for a longer period of time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I know that a lot of people who are not used to this will fall asleep after
Yes.
5 minutes of reading. It's okay.
Or
Be
not know
kind.
what they read.
Or not know what they read. But if you're catching yourself
Yes.
doing those things, then
Mhm.
make an even bigger effort on that part. If
Mhm.
you know that it's being a challenge, it's because your attention is really being challenged.
Yes.
So you need to help it. You need
Right?
to do something about it. And it's never too late. It's never too early either. So start with your kids, let them play with things that they can touch and
Mhm.
use and throw and break.
Mhm.
um, Make them deal with people, make them interact with people, play with them, take the time. It's also a good break for you from devices.
Yeah, it is.
So
Mhm.
that's also a good way to step away from that, and interact more with plants and
Oh,
animals and
yeah.
go on walks. I
Nature.
mean, we need that. We
Yeah.
need that connection,
Mhm.
and disconnection from technology, but connection with the world, with the
Mhm.
physical world, with the weather, with
Mhm.
stuff that we cannot control,
Mhm.
again, so that we can reteach ourselves how to engage with those things.
Right. Nature's a big one. I think a lot of,
Yes.
especially I think in the generation now,
Mhm.
because they don't go out and play. Like, when
Yeah.
I was a kid, we would go out at 8 o'clock in the morning and not come
Yes.
back until five
Till
o'clock
the sun went
at night.
out.
Or,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. But now kids are watching TV or they're on their devices or whatever. They're not out in nature in general. Not everybody's
Yes.
doing that. One of the things I've been wanting to say that's really important, and you keep talking about the energy, don't sleep with your phone in your room. Don't sleep with any electronic device in your room because you're constantly then getting that
Yes.
radio
And
wave and you
if
can't.
you must, if you're using it for your alarm clock, or I
Yeah.
know a lot of people who just can't not have it in the room,
Yeah.
just put it on airplane mode at least. So
Yeah.
you will not get as much radiation or notifications or all
Right.
of that stuff.
Right.
You can actually slow down if you're not ready for not
Yeah.
sleeping with it.
Well, I had a little problem when I first did it because what if there's an emergency or whatever? But I
Mhm,
don't have my door closed
mhm,
and I
mhm,
have it in another part of the house that I can still hear it.
mhm,
So when
mhm.
I set the alarm, it's actually a better thing because then I
Because
have
you
to get
have to
out of
step
bed
out.
and go all the way to get it.
Yes, that is totally recommended.
Right.
If you use that as as a little bit of a law, if
Mhm.
it's far enough that you need to get up to get it,
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's really the way to go
Yeah, it is.
because it's far enough at
Right.
least,
You want it away
right?
because a lot of people have sleep problems and they don't realize a part of
It
it
could
comes
be
from
part of
their
this.
phone, right? It could
Yes.
definitely be a part of that. I know I slept better, even just the notifications. I slept
Yes.
better with my phone, all my electronic devices out of the room. They're just not
Yes.
even in the room.
And again, if you have a chance to disconnect from devices like 30
Mhm.
minutes before you go to bed,
Right.
that is the desirable thing. And
Right.
especially if you're talking about kids
Mhm.
and if you let them like watch something before going to bed,
Mhm.
try to do it before, like way before they go to bed. So they have a good 30 to 45 minutes before they actually are in bed
Mhm.
after they've
Mhm.
engaged with devices, because the light does stimulate our brains, and that's part of the reason why they don't let us sleep sound and
And I can
happy.
hear somebody saying, well, now Apple has their night vision thing, but it's not just the light, it's the stimulation.
And it's
It's
knowing that
the
it's there
constantly
because you're going to
wanting
reach
to,
out to it.
yeah, you are. You're going to want something else. You're going to remember to check this, or you're going to remember to look up that, or whatever.
And
So it's
again,
not allowing your brain to slow down.
you have an emotional connection to this
Yes,
device.
you do.
We have to admit it. There is an emotional connection to it. And there have been cases of kids under 3 who have actually had a big emotional problem because they actually have more attachment to the device than to a parent or another
Right.
person.
Right.
Because we are creating that connection in those early bonding years, right?
Mhm.
But that's not just for them, it is for us as well. So our reward system, our stimulation system is
Mhm.
getting those likes, seeing if someone commented, seeing if the person that we love posted something, right?
Right.
We
I think
rationalize this.
that's also our insecurities because we're
Yes.
looking for validation. We're looking for support. We're looking for love. We're
And
looking
we're looking
for
outward.
exactly. And that
Yep.
it has to come again from within. And the one thing I want to say about children is they are completely open until they're 7.
Yes.
They're not, they don't think in their own way until 7 and
Yes.
over, sometimes 8, 9 years old
Yeah.
in a time frame. So when you're giving them this openness to all this technology, including the development of their brains,
Hmm. Hmm.
that is not good for them. It's going to be interesting to see how this
And
generation
again,
now
yes, there's a
fares.
lot of debate between developmental psychologists about
Mhm.
this, because even the most basic choices, right? Like if
Right.
you're giving your kid, because I faced this with some of my friends, there are
Mhm.
some kids that are like free range. What do you
Yeah.
want to do? And that's just giving them too much. I
Right.
mean, teach them to choose, but give them 2 options. You give them the options.
Mhm.
Okay, so yes, they are developing a criteria and their individual choices, their
Mhm.
personality. You're still giving them freedom, but you have to understand they're like little Martians that just landed on this planet.
I love
They
that.
have seriously no idea, no matter how wise they seem to you. They have
Exactly.
no idea. You are the grown up, you've been around longer, you've known the planet for longer, right?
Exactly.
So you need to be very aware of that. They need to have, yes, freedom, but first you need to teach them how to use it.
You do.
That's for sure. I mean,
Definitely.
there's a huge difference there. And again, the emphasis on going inward and
Mhm.
looking at your value and your spirituality and your connection to something higher than yourself first,
Mhm.
crucial. And it will not disconnect you from others, it will make you even more connected to them. That's
Exactly.
for sure.
Exactly.
So don't think that that's going to make you selfish. No, but you need to be okay in your own skin.
You do.
And that's also another reason why they should use devices after 13. I mean,
Mhm.
you're in such a delicate
Yeah.
situation. I mean,
Mhm.
we're you just mentioned before that let's see where this generation is going to go. Well,
Mhm.
it's not pretty
No, it's
because we've
not.
had a 90% of depression in
Right.
teenagers
Mhm.
starting from 12
Mhm.
on.
Mhm.
Like 90% of our teenage generation is depressed. And they're depressed because they can't find this real connection.
Mhm.
It's all about the likes, it's all about the fame, it's all about what you do and how successful you are.
Mhm.
It's all about being able to put up with the bullying. So you're not being able to generate you,
Yes.
right?
Yes. I mean, really seriously, if you think about it, a lot of these kids are spending so much time on their devices and not out just playing. And there's been so many cases of bullying on all social medias
Hmm.
where
Hmm.
kids have committed suicide because
Yes.
of the bullying,
And
where
that's because
you're in your
we
safe
can't
place
yes, and
when
you
this
can't
happens.
develop either resilience or
Mhm,
emotional intelligence because
mhm,
it's not to say, oh, the bullies are not to blame. No,
right,
yes, it's a lack of being able to endure the bullying, but
right.
the other ones are getting harsher. I
Yeah,
mean, it's not just, oh, you're so dumb. No, it's a total
different.
degrading
Mhm,
of the other. And
mhm.
that's only because you feel so detached and you don't
Right,
see the consequence of
right,
how you're harming others with
right,
your words, with
right,
your actions, with a post,
right,
right?
right.
And we just throw it out there. And again, it's energy,
Mhm,
words matter,
mhm,
actions matter, and
mhm,
there's stuff that you're putting out there. And you
mhm.
can also put out wonderful stuff, loving
Yeah,
stuff,
yeah, oh,
good
yeah,
energy stuff, and that would be awesome. We all appreciate it. So if you can share more of that,
yeah,
do make it a case that yes, you're informed, yes, you share the information that it's
right.
important for your friends, for your family, for your country, whatever, but make sure that you always do something positive, that you put something positive out there,
Mhm,
and also analyze how much you really want to say what you're thinking,
mhm.
because we're using no filters now. We all want to be heard and we all want to
Yeah,
be considered, and sometimes we're okay being okay quiet.
yeah,
You can just watch.
yeah. Well, there's some people like that, and some people, I mean, that's like human nature. Some people are
Yes.
way out there and some are not. But I
Yes.
think for the younger ones, they don't have the same kind of, like we talked about, they don't
Yeah.
have the same wisdom. But
No.
the one thing that's very different is that in today's world now, even young kids can become what
Yeah.
you would, I guess, call famous, whatever,
Yes.
on Facebook,
Yes.
YouTube, whatever.
Yes.
And they don't know how to deal with that.
No.
And then that's all their life becomes. But have they really learned the structure and um, the things that are important in life that's going to
Yeah.
take care of them later?
Yeah.
And I
And
think that that goes into the ego then too of a
for
parent.
sure.
It's like, oh
For
yeah,
sure.
my kid is whatever, you know.
Yes, and it has to do with our measures of of success,
Exactly.
our parameters of what we think is a successful
Right.
life.
Right.
And I used to work with artists and entertainers, and before we got into the huge social media
Mhm.
events, and I learned with them how hard it was to be visible all the time, and
Mhm.
how hard it was on your soul, on your self-esteem, on your concept, on your family,
Mhm.
to be so visible. So when we have now kids as young as 6 or 5 or 3 being famous on internet,
Yeah. Yeah.
um I mean, that is a big thing, and it
Yeah.
does matter. And it will matter because you cannot take it off the internet. So
Right.
if you're thinking it's a really funny video of your kid learning to say something,
Right.
whatever it is,
Right.
let me tell you, that little video will come up when they present their application for the university that they want to go to, for
Yeah.
the job that they want, for the girlfriend that they're dating.
Mhm.
um, it will come up.
Mhm.
So be very mindful that it's not just something cute to post up
Right.
there.
Right.
Um, be mindful of their right to a private life.
Mhm.
It's one thing to share with the family, and it's amazing because it keeps us all connected in great
Right.
ways.
Right.
But when you do public, think
Yeah.
about the whole world watching it.
Yeah.
That's
At,
what viral means,
yeah.
right?
Yeah. That's a very important point for sure.
Yes.
And we need to protect each other. I mean, this
Yes.
isn't all a downer on the internet. All the technology that we have, all the opportunities we have.
Hmm. Hmm.
As we have mentioned, I'm a big fan of it. I love being able to
Hmm.
use it. I actually push formats and
Hmm.
platforms
Hmm.
in that area. But I think that we can get so, because one of the things we talked about, and I see it with adults and kids, is that we
Hmm.
forget that we need the human
Touch.
side of
Yeah.
things and we
Hmm.
need to be aware. I mean,
Hmm.
just the whole thing with how political
Hmm.
uh, things are
Some
happening. I'm
things
not
are
going to go into
yes.
whatever, but you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, happen
Yes.
on the internet, happen all off social medias. But if we were able to disconnect and
Mhm.
you think, because that's the thing that's
Yes,
not happening when we're
that's
on
crucial.
the internet, is we're
Hmm.
not disconnecting and thinking for ourselves
Hmm.
and having a life outside of
Hmm.
social medias and the internet.
Yes,
That's, I think, our point to this whole conversation.
for sure. Yes, it's about going back to thinking, to making choices,
Hmm.
and to be practice our rationality.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
I mean, bringing up the knowledge that we've had, and creating that knowledge in the younger generation,
Yeah.
helping them discern
Hmm.
what is true, what is not true, what is valid, and
Hmm.
what goes with their values.
Yes.
We
And
need
knowing
to
what
get
our values
values.
are.
Yes.
Sometimes we don't even know that because we're being
And
told what they are.
yes, and again, it's a lot of understanding that values is not I don't like foreigners. That's
Yes.
not a value, right?
Yes.
A value is justice, a value is peace, a value is freedom. I
Mhm,
And you can have a lot of those so
mhm,
that your kids can actually grow their own personality but with values. So you're
mhm.
not getting into their heads telling
Yeah.
them you have to think this. It's
Yeah.
just giving them a
Yeah.
solid ground that they can stand on
Right.
so they can choose from there.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of people get a little bit confused, and that's why they're like, oh, but I don't want my kid to be just like me. No, it's not about that. It's not about that. Cool off.
No,
They will have their own personality in mind. That's
yeah,
okay.
we're gonna have it anyway. So
Yes.
let them learn. You mentioned a book though. We never got back to the book. I want
Yes.
to ask you.
I have a book up on Amazon. You can order it
Okay.
print or
Uh-huh.
online, and it's
Okay.
called Caught in Between.
Okay.
And it's precisely to help you understand how the different generations are shaped by the use of technology.
Wow.
And
I love.
especially how this caught in between generation of the 80s
Mhm.
that still played outdoors but knows a lot about tech
Yeah.
can be the bridge between
Yeah.
these two generations, allowing the older generation to enjoy technology
Mhm.
and teaching the younger generation that we do not need technology.
Okay.
We have it and it's great and it's
Yeah.
awesome, but there's a lot that can be done
Mhm.
still without technology. That's really about it.
Exactly. And that's, I think, what this whole conversation has all been about. There's both, and both are true.
Yes, and
Yeah.
very valid. And the more we can talk with the different generations
Mhm.
and get feedback from the experience of not just technology but everything else,
Yeah.
if we can keep the conversation open, I
Right.
think we're in the clear.
So I know that we'll get your book on the link in
Yes,
the
we'll
in the
put it up there.
in the next 24 hours or whatever,
Yeah.
and how to connect with you as well. Because tell people a little bit about what you do. Didn't get
Yes.
that out.
What I do right now is help a lot of entrepreneurs and
Yeah.
soulpreneurs, particularly a lot of spiritual people, to use more technology
Mhm,
in a safe, positive, and holistic way where
mhm.
you can still keep your ground, keep your energy, but get your message out and be seen and build a business that is really according to your values, according to your desires, and to the time that you want to devote into it so that you can have a happy life. You can enjoy technology, but uh, have the best of both worlds again.
Yeah, and it's
Yes.
really a great medium to
Yes.
be an entrepreneur now and get your message out. And not only that, is it's good for you because you start, for me in this experience, knowing who I am better, knowing what I like more, knowing what I don't like more, and knowing where my parameters are. And that all came from just doing
That
the
is the funniest thing.
it
Your
is,
personal process as you create a business online
right.
is amazing. I think that's the part that I work with the most. You're faced with your biggest fears.
Mm-hmm.
You're
Right.
challenged to know what your values are.
Mm-hmm.
You're also given the great opportunity to show yourself for who you really are.
Yeah.
Because I will never get tired of saying this. The best marketing is honest marketing.
Yes, it's so true. And when you're trying to do something that you think somebody else is doing as you, or
Yeah.
somebody's telling you to do, and it's just
No.
not right, and then you're not being authentically you. And it
Yeah.
was so funny because yesterday when I did my live, I did
Yeah.
my YouTube thing, and that's the first time I've actually come out and done something like that. I could tell I was still in my head, so I was telling somebody, well, I was really still kind of nervous. So I was stumbling
Mhm.
around in my words. And she's like, but that's what we love about you.
Because it's the
That's who you are.
authenticity. It's
Yeah.
the real experience. It's what you were saying. We don't want to see this person that has like all the planes and has it all together because like
Right.
then I'm broken. There's
Yeah.
something wrong with me,
Right.
right? We
Right.
want to see people, yes, that are aspirational and
Right.
positive and that we can learn stuff from them, but
Mm-hmm.
that are human and grounded and that make mistakes and then say, I'm sorry, the connection is not working because it
Yeah.
happens to all of us, right? and
Exactly.
and we want to that's the biggest thing that I would love to invite people to do
Mm-hmm.
through their online experiences. Be honest. And
Mm-hmm.
this doesn't mean that you have to share everything that happens in your life.
No.
If you got a coffee, if the coffee was good or not. It's not about that. It's about when you're having a conversation online, when you're joining a topic, when you're joining a post that someone else shared, be honest, be authentic, be respectful, because it is building the guidelines of what's accepted online.
Mm-hmm.
And like we
Yeah, it
said
is.
before, we are responsible for keeping each other safe online.
Mm-hmm.
And that means telling the truth.
Mm-hmm.
If we're not telling our truth, we're creating this empty, void, fake platform of things that are not true,
It's
right?
true.
And our kids need to learn what to trust.
Right. And we're the example of that.
Yeah.
Even in our, because a lot of what I see happening is kids and parents interchange.
Hmm.
And so
Hmm.
they're seeing what you're a part of and you're seeing what they're a part of. So
Yes.
they're learning from that as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I
Definitely.
love
So yeah, I would love to if there's any questions and in the when they put the comments later on in the replay,
Yeah.
we'll make
Yeah.
sure to touch on that. But in
Yes.
the meantime, yeah, just be honest,
Yes.
stay safe, and keep others safe online. That's definitely worth it.
Well, I so appreciate your time, sharing your time
You're
and your
welcome.
energy with us. It's been lovely. I always love chatting with you.
I know. I
And
know.
and she will be a part of getting all this together too, because she
Yes.
does this for me. And I love her for doing that
Thank
because
you very
I do
much.
not do very well at that.
And
And if you
that's
guys
the great part. Yeah, you don't have to do it all.
don't. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. I've always been an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it gives you so much freedom, but you get to explore what you like and don't like as well. And that's one of the
Yes.
things I learned. I
Yes.
can't do it all. So, but all the information will be there, you guys. And if you have any comments or questions, please do put it in the chat. We will get back to them. I do go back and look at them. And please put your comments and talk about your experiences about social media and what you've learned from it, and maybe some of the do's and don'ts that you would like to share with other people. That would be really great if we can all share that.
That'll be great. Yeah.
And check out Anna. She will put information in here in her book. Thank you, Susan. You're always such a great cheerleader there. And Maria who? I don't know who you're talking about. Oh, you could put that in there. Anyway, thank you so very much. Everybody have a great night. Be safe and watch your kids and hug your kids.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much.
Good night, everybody.